I'm going to tell you something most people don't realize. Attraction doesn't disappear all at once. It fades, quietly, subtly, almost invisibly. And the scary part? It's usually not because of one big mistake, but small habits, repeated over time. Habits that seem harmless, even normal, but slowly change how someone feels about you. And today, we're going to uncover 10 of those hidden habits, the ones that quietly weaken attraction without you even noticing. Let's start with something that almost everyone does. Before we dive deeper, a quick message. If you've been learning from my videos and you want to support this work, you can subscribe to me on Facebook with a paid membership, send stars, or join my YouTube channel's paid community. Your support helps me create more powerful content for you, and I truly appreciate every bit of it. All right, now let's continue. Habit number 1, over-explaining yourself. You say what you did, why you did it, what you meant, and then you keep going, trying to make sure you're fully understood. But here's the problem. The more you explain, the more it feels like you're seeking validation, and attraction needs a little mystery. Not confusion, but space. Confidence isn't loud, it's clear, and then it stops. Now here's where it gets interesting. Habit number 2, always being available. You reply instantly. You adjust your schedule. You prioritize them every time. It feels like effort, but it slowly removes tension because when someone always has access to you, they never have to miss you. And absence is what makes presence feel valuable. Let's go deeper because this next one is subtle. Habit number 3, losing your own routine. You stop doing things you used to enjoy. Your hobbies fade, your structure disappears, and your world starts revolving around one person. That might feel like connection, but it actually creates imbalance. Attraction grows when two people have lives, not when one disappears into the other. Now listen carefully to this one, because it's often misunderstood. Habit number 4, seeking constant reassurance. Are we okay? Do you still feel the same? Did I do something wrong? These questions don't come from nowhere. They come from uncertainty. But repeated too often, they create pressure because now the other person feels responsible for maintaining your emotional state, and that can become exhausting. Now here's one that surprises people. Habit number 5, oversharing too quickly. You open up fast, very fast, everything about you, all at once. And while vulnerability is powerful, timing matters. Because connection builds in layers, not in a rush. When everything is revealed too early, there's nothing left to discover. Now this next one, this one quietly changes everything. Habit number 6, reacting emotionally to everything. Every delay, every change in tone, every small shift triggers a reaction. And over time, that unpredictability creates instability. Attraction thrives in emotional consistency, not emotional spikes. Let's pause here for a second because the next habit is one of the most common and the most damaging. Habit number 7, trying too hard to please. You agree with everything. You avoid conflict. You say yes even when you mean no. It feels like harmony, but it slowly erases your identity. Because respect comes from boundaries, not compliance. Now here's where things get deeper. Habit number 8, ignoring subtle changes. You sense something is off, but you avoid it. You hope it fixes itself. You don't address the shift, and over time, distance grows. Not because of one moment, but because of many unspoken ones. Now listen to this carefully, because this habit is silent but powerful. Habit number 9, losing emotional control under pressure when things get uncertain. You panic, you overthink, overreact, overanalyze, and in those moments, you show instability. But attraction needs grounding, not perfection, but calmness. And now, the final habit, the one that ties everything together. Habit number 10, forgetting your own worth. You start questioning yourself, doubting your value, comparing yourself, trying to be enough. And the moment that happens, you stop being natural, you start performing, and attraction can feel the difference. Now here's the truth most people don't talk about. Attraction isn't about being perfect, it's about being consistent. Consistent in how you show up, how you communicate, how you carry yourself. And the most attractive thing you can have is self-respect. Because when you respect yourself, you don't over-explain, you don't chase, you don't lose yourself. You stay grounded. Now let's go deeper. Because knowing the habits is one thing. Understanding why they form, that's where real change begins. Here's what most people miss. These habits don't appear because you're weak. They appear because you care. And caring, without the right foundation, turns into anxiety. And anxiety expresses itself through behavior. The over-explaining comes from the fear of being misunderstood. The constant availability comes from the fear of seeming distant. The reassurance seeking comes from the fear of losing something that matters. Every single habit on this list has fear underneath it. And that's important to understand because you can't fix a habit by attacking the behavior alone. You have to address the root. And the root is almost always the same question. Am I enough? That one question drives more self-destructive behavior in relationships than almost anything else. Because when you're not sure of the answer, you outsource it. You look for confirmation in how quickly they reply, in how warmly they respond, in whether they initiate. And every time they don't give you the confirmation you're looking for, the anxiety spikes, the behavior escalates, and slowly, the very thing you were afraid of losing starts slipping away. Not because you're unlovable, but because the version of you that's driven by fear is exhausting to be around, even for the person who genuinely cares about you. So here's the real shift. You have to answer that question yourself before you ask anyone else to answer it for you. And the way you answer it is not through affirmations, not through positive self-talk alone, but through action, through living in a way that you respect, keeping commitments to yourself, building things that matter to you, showing up for your own life with the same energy you give to others. Because self-worth isn't something someone gives you. It's something you build quietly, consistently, over time. And once you have it, these habits start dissolving, not because you're trying to eliminate them, but because the fear that created them no longer has the same grip. Now let's revisit a few of these habits and look at them from a completely different angle. Take habit number 3, losing your routine. Most people think this happens because they get lazy, but that's not it. It happens because the relationship becomes the source of meaning. And when one person becomes your entire source of meaning, everything else fades. Your hobbies, your friendships, your goals, they all shrink because this one thing feels more important. But here's the paradox. The more your world shrinks to just them, the less interesting you become. Not because they stopped caring, but because the person they were attracted to had a life, had passions, had things they cared about deeply, and that version of you slowly disappeared. So protecting your routine isn't selfishness, it's maintenance. It's keeping alive the version of yourself that attracted them in the first place. Now let's look at habit number 7, people-pleasing. This one is particularly painful because it usually comes from a good place. You want harmony. You want them to be happy. You want to avoid conflict. And those aren't bad desires. But when you say yes to everything, when you swallow your real opinions, when you shape yourself around what you think they want, you slowly erase yourself. And here's what happens then. They start to sense it, not consciously, but something feels off. The relationship starts to feel one-sided, not because you're giving too much, but because there's no real friction anymore, no contrast, no dynamic tension, just agreement. And agreement without authenticity is not connection. It's performance. And performing is exhausting for both people. So here's what disagreement actually does. When done calmly and respectfully, it shows you're real. It shows you have standards. It shows you value the truth of the conversation more than the comfort of the moment. And that is deeply attractive because it's rare. Most people will tell you what you want to hear. The person who tells you the truth, gently, confidently, becomes someone you trust. And trust is the foundation everything else is built on. Now let's talk about habit number 9, losing emotional control under pressure. Because this one doesn't just affect attraction, it affects everything. Here's what happens in moments of uncertainty. Your mind does what minds are designed to do. It tries to resolve the unknown, it searches for answers, it creates scenarios, it catastrophizes. And if you act on those impulses, if you send the message out of panic, if you bring up the conversation before you're calm, if you demand reassurance in the middle of your anxiety, you don't just create discomfort, you reveal something. You reveal that you can't sit with uncertainty. And the ability to sit with uncertainty is one of the most quietly powerful things a person can demonstrate, because life is uncertain, relationships are uncertain, and the person who falls apart every time something is unclear becomes a source of stress rather than a source of stability. So here's the practice. When you feel that spike of anxiety, when the urge to react hits, pause. Not forever, just long enough to let the initial waves pass, because the first impulse is almost never the right one. The message you write in a moment of panic is rarely the message you'd write an hour later. Give yourself that hour and watch how differently things resolve. Now, here's the final truth that ties all 10 habits together. Attraction is not something you maintain by trying harder. It's something you maintain by staying truer to who you are, truer to what you value, truer to the version of yourself that existed before the fear crept in. Because that version, the grounded one, the one with a routine and a perspective and a quiet confidence, the one who didn't need to explain everything or be available every second or agree with everything said, that version is the one worth being, not as a strategy, not as a technique to maintain attraction, but because that version of you is genuinely better to be around for them and for yourself. So instead of asking, how do I keep them interested? Start asking, am I staying true to myself? Because the moment you stay aligned, everything else becomes natural. And here's the deeper truth. The right connection doesn't require you to shrink yourself or overextend yourself or lose yourself. It works because you're both showing up fully. Attraction doesn't disappear overnight. It fades through patterns, and patterns can be changed. Not all at once, not perfectly, but one habit at a time, one conscious choice at a time, one moment of staying grounded when everything in you wants to spiral. That's how it changes, slowly, quietly, the same way it faded. If this made you reflect, if something on this list felt uncomfortably familiar, good. That discomfort is information. Use it. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and go watch the next one, because we're only getting deeper from here. The people who understand this don't just become better partners, they become better versions of themselves, and that changes everything. Every relationship, every interaction, every area of life. That's what we're building here, one truth at a time.